Hello everyone and welcome to Big Rock Moto. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate that. Only two favors as we start out. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. And two, whenever you're shopping for parts and gear, please use my affiliate links. I really appreciate that. All right, this is my latest long-term project bike, the 2025 KTM 390 Adventure R. Since the last videos that I've put out there, I've had quite a bit more time to really delve into this bike, take it on some fun rides, and make some upgrades and changes to address some of the deficiencies of the bike. All right, let's talk about this kickstand issue. So this bike and the new 390 Enduro R, which I have a separate in-depth review video coming out on if it's not already out, they have this issue where your boot, when you stand up, the heel of your boot can contact the spring of the kickstand and activate the sensor, which kills the bike and kills your engine while you're riding. And it's a super frustrating issue to have. So what I ended up doing, now KTM did issue an updated spring that is a little bit redesigned that helps the issue. My bike does not have that though, because I got one of the early bikes. I just need to take it in and have that done. But what I decided to do, because it kept being an issue for me, was I just glued a magnet. I took some super glue and glued a small magnet to the kickstand sensor under the kickstand. It tricked the bike into thinking that the kickstand is always up and just it gets rid of the issue. Now, you don't have a kickstand sensor anymore, which is a potential safety issue, you know, technically speaking. Just be aware of that. But that's what I ended up doing to deal with that. All right, getting into the second subject with the bike. So the 390, you know, it doesn't have a lot of low-end power, right? Below 5,000 RPM, there's just not much happening with the engine. And you get used to that power characteristic. It's not a problem, but if you're used to a larger capacity engine, it is something that's kind of frustrating. Also, the 390s do, or they can have some stalling. They can have a little bit of surging at the low RPM. They just don't have great low RPM throttle response and power characteristics. Now, KTM have been issuing ECU or fuel mapping updates to the bike, which greatly improve it. And in fact, the 390 Enduro that I just tested had the latest update, and it ran very well with no stalling. So I'm just gonna put that out there before I talk about the aftermarket stuff. So I ordered the Powertronics Fuel X Pro fuel tuner, and I installed it on the bike. So it's around $300 or so, and it arrived pretty quickly. I'm not sponsored by them. I paid full price for it. So the installation of it was fairly straightforward. You did have to remove the gas tank. You had to remove some of the fairing panels and some plastics. It took maybe a couple hours, I would say, going slow, and my first time taking the bike apart. And I'll put some video of it here. So I installed it. You wire it into the plugs, to the wiring plugs and everything in the bike. You install this switch on the handlebar, which allows you to go through 9 different mapping or fuel levels. So you can adjust the amount of extra fuel that it adds into the fuel mapping with the handlebar switch, which is nice. Now here's what they claim on their website. They claim 2x acceleration, eliminate reduced jerkiness and stalling, reduces downshifts, increases torque, better throttle response, engine runs cooler, and enhanced engine life. Now, to be brutally honest, I think those claims are a bit too much and a bit exaggerated. It does not give you twice the acceleration. They also claim something like 25% power and torque increase there if you look on the website, which is also not true. So I think the advertising of the product is very exaggerated, because all that it does, it's a piggyback fuel tuner. It adds fuel into the mixture at partial throttle openings, which does smooth out. So here's what it does. It does smooth out the low end throttle response. It does give you a little bit better low end response and power. It does somewhat reduce the stalling, although it has not totally eliminated it. As for the claims of like running cooler, I mean, not maybe a little bit, but the fan, it still runs warm and the fan comes on a lot. I've tried playing with the modes on the switch a lot, You know, I find that usually between like 6 or 7 on the switch seems to be good. Now, I should mention I also took the time, at the same time I installed a DNA high flow air filter, which allows you to get a little bit better airflow. So that was also part of this as well. It was an expensive air filter, something like $90. It is cleanable. It's supposed to be very good air filter. A lot of people like these, so I wanted to try that out. So the ECU or fuel tuner combined with the air filter, it does improve the bike, I would just say marginally. Some other people, I mean, go watch other reviews. Some other people have claimed that it's more of an increase than that. I just honestly didn't see a tremendous increase in the bike. And in fact, riding this back to back with the 390 Enduro R that had just only the KTM ECU update and none of this other stuff, that bike felt better to me than this. So take it with a grain of salt. You know, your experience may be different. Do I think it's worth a $300? I mean, maybe it does make the bike a little bit better. Is it worth $300 or $400 with the air filter? I'm not sure that I would say that it is. It's just maybe. So kind of mixed results there, but I'm just being as honest as I can. All right, so the third deficiency that I've found with the bike that I wanted to try to address was the high frequency vibration that comes from the motor. You feel the buzz coming through the foot pegs, coming through the seat, and then coming through the handlebar. So I tried to attack this on all fronts, right? So let's start with the seat. I did buy a ventilated seat cover, and I'll link it below. I forget the brand name. It was out of Australia. It's not on the bike right now because I'm getting this bike ready to sell, actually. We'll talk about that later. But I do have it, and I'll show some video of it here. I love the ventilated covers because the seat doesn't get hot anymore. The water runs through it. Your butt doesn't sweat as much. I know that's too much information, but it really adds a lot of comfort, and you don't feel as much buzziness through the seat. So that was a big success. That was like $100 somewhere in there. Then let's talk about the XC Gear Mako 360 handlebar mount. Now, I'm familiar with these from the dual sport off-road world. People like to use these. It's an expensive item. It's $400 and something dollars, so it's a very pricey upgrade to do. It's a new handlebar mount, so it replaces the stock handlebar mounts, and what it is a vibration isolator system for the handlebar. So it removes all metal-to-metal contact between the handlebar and the handlebar mounts. And supposedly it reduces the vibration, it provides some shock absorption through the handlebars. The bars don't move as much as they would with like the flex bar system, but it provides more of a vibration isolation, at least that's the claim. Pretty easy to install, pretty straightforward. You can get different polymer colors with different hardnesses for the the polymers in there, the shark bite, and then the main polymer there, which goes between the bar and the bar clamp to adjust things if you want firmer or softer. So this is my first time using the product. I was happy with the install. It does, okay, so I don't want you to order this and expect that all of a sudden your handlebars are now smooth. Like, unfortunately, I didn't really find it to reduce the vibration very much. And it could just be the nature of the high frequency buzz of this particular engine or bike, but there's still a lot of buzz coming to the handlebars, so I'm not sure that it was worth $400 to do that. But what I do notice riding with this off-road is that the bars do feel smoother. Like a lot of the shocks from the rocks and the trail, they're just smoothed out. And I like that. Is it worth $400? I can't really say. I think that's a lot of money. I wish that it somehow reduced the vibration more, but to be just brutally honest, it really didn't. So I'm not sure that I could really recommend that to get the vibration out of the bike. Okay, let's move on to the foot pegs. So I had the stock foot pegs, which were okay. Then I had the Black Dog foot pegs, which I love. I love those pegs. They're lower, they're big, they're really an awesome foot peg. And then I tried these Motion Factory Racing foot pegs. So these are really cool because they use a rubber elastomer in there to reduce the vibration going through the foot pegs, but that also gives you a little bit of forward and back motion into the foot peg. So when you're standing up, especially off-road, and you're going through different terrain, the foot peg can move just a little bit, and it's like a flexible joint. It's not like pivot pegs. The pivot pegs to me felt very unnatural when I've tried them before, like they were too much movement and too loose. These feel more natural, like an extension of your, because if you think of the joints like in your legs or your body, it's more like elastic, it's more like a muscle or something, right? So it feels more like that, just a natural movement. and you can get different setups to be stiffer or softer or whatever you would like. So I like these. They do really help reduce the buzz coming through the foot pegs. These are the adventure platforms, so they're a little bit larger. I would get these. The other ones are, I think, too small. They have like an off-road platform. I really like these. These are a great product. I will probably be putting these on my personal bikes going forward. Really, really like them. They're not cheap. They're $250 or $300, somewhere in there. I do have, I think, an affiliate link for these now, so I'll put that down below. Okay, there's some other changes I've done to the bike to sort of get it to fit the riding that I want to do. So I had changed to those Motoz tires, the Outback Race and the Euro Enduro, I think it was called. They were great off-road, but they were too aggressive of a tire, I think, for this bike. This is more of a 50-50 bike, and you want some good highway manners. They were too wobbly on the highway for me, so I was like, no, I can't do that. So I changed to the Tusk 2-track. I do like the 2-track tires, the performance of them. The price is really, really good. They're pretty, you know, okay, stable on the road, not great. And then off-road, they perform pretty well. You just can't beat them for the money. Now, I don't like how stiff they are. They're difficult to mount, very difficult. And I think for trailside repair, they're a little bit on the stiff side for having to do any sort of tube replacement out on a trail. I worry about that. I would like to see Tusk go to a softer carcass. I think it's just too stiff, and I don't like the way that is. But I still choose to use them because they perform well, the price is great, and yeah, they're a decent all-around tire. So that was the tires. Now, there's one final issue with this bike that for me is holding it back from really being like something that I would keep around for myself to enjoy personally, right? Because let's be clear, I didn't buy this because I wanted to ride this bike. You know, I bought this to test it, to make videos with, to do the project with, and to provide this content. And it's an important new model, and I wanted to get, you know, find everything out about the bike that we could. But it's not the bike that I would choose to ride, you know, for myself. Now, there's one final issue that really holds it back in that regard for me. In addition to the buzzy engine, not much power, all of that, but it's the suspension. The front fork is decent. It's not bad. I've only bottomed it a couple times when I really try to bottom it, like just really jam it into something and hit something. You can bottom the fork. The shock, though, is another story. The shock, you will bottom out if you start riding faster, and especially if you have like some luggage on the back, it makes it a lot worse. It really, like, it bottoms out a lot. It's too soft, the damping's not there, the spring rate isn't there. So I took the shock into my local suspension shop, and I was like, can you do something to fix this? They were like, well, we can't really revalve the apex rear shock. It's not really revalvable. But they put the spring on a dyno, so the stock spring rate is 108 Newton meters, and for my weight, and they calculated the weight of the bike and everything, they said that the right spring would be 114 Newton meters. Now, there's no replacement spring available, so they're actually making a custom spring for this bike for me through Slavens Racing, and then they're going to put it in. So it's going up to 114 Newton meters on the spring rate. The spring is 150 bucks, right? So it's a cheap way to try to make the suspension work better. However, I don't think it's really going to work that well, because I think there's just the valving in the shock just isn't there. The damping isn't there. So I think to really get this to work really well for aggressive riding, for an experienced rider, you're going to have to replace the shock with the WP Pro component that's coming out, which is going to be over $1,000, I'm sure, just for the shock, maybe $1,500 if you want to get the performance out of the bike. And in the future, I'm sure there'll be more aftermarket upgrades. But just know that if you are a very experienced off-road rider and you ride fast, you're not going to, I don't see you being happy at all with the suspension performance, especially on the rear shock of this bike. All right, so trying to wrap up this series with this bike, you know, I think people are wondering, like, is this the unicorn adventure motorcycle that just is lightweight and does everything really, really well? Personally, for me, as a rider, no, it would not be the unicorn. For this to be the unicorn for me, it would need significantly more power, a smoother engine, probably a twin cylinder, and much, much better suspension. If it could do all that, and you could have like a 490 Adventure or a 590 Adventure or something, or even like the 690 platform, make that into Adventure, that would be my unicorn. But I do think that for some people, this could be a unicorn bike, and here's what I mean. So if you ride like a Tenere 700 or a Touareg 660 or an 890 Adventure or an Africa Twin or something in that middleweight adventure category, but you're just finding it to be too unwieldy, too heavy off-road when you drop it or getting into technical situations. Maybe you're shorter, maybe you're not super strong, maybe you're just not a professional rider, and most people aren't. Then yeah, the lightweight of this bike, I mean, this is 90 pounds or 40 kilograms lighter than an 890 Adventure R. Check that comparison video I did. Like, that is a major difference. So I do think that if you want a bike that has that lightweight for the off-road stuff, and you need that for your confidence, and you still want to be able to do highway travel, you know, you've got the great wind protection, a lot of features here, then I think this could be a unicorn for you. Keep in mind the compromises that you have, right? It's built to a price point. $7,000 is amazing, by the way, for the price, but it is built to that price point. Cheap, buzzy engine, cheap suspension components, some things like that that kind of hold it back. If you can live with that, it's incredible for $7,000. And I do think it is something you should look at as an alternative to those heavier middleweight adventure bikes if you're finding those to be too heavy. So yeah, I appreciate this bike for what it is. I think they did an amazing job with it for the price, but would it be like my personal, like, forever bike? No, there's no way. I want to be riding the 890 Adventure R or Adventure R Rally. That's my, like, ultimate adventure bike for me, for how I like to ride. All right, well, I think, unless I change my mind, I think this might be the last video in this series. So I hope the series has been useful. If there's things I haven't covered that you'd like me to answer, I'm doing monthly live streams with live Q&A. You can jump on that. You can send me an email. You can send me a direct message on social media. You can put a comment down in the video below, and I do my best to respond to all the messages and questions that I get. It just takes me a couple days sometimes to do that. So if there's things that I've missed, please do let me know. I've enjoyed testing this bike, but I don't know that there's much else I could do with it. The only other thing that I thought about was I could keep it and spend, you know, the $2,500 to do the WP Pro suspension upgrade, but I'm really not inclined to do that because I know that right after that I'll just sell the bike anyway, and I'll probably lose most of that money. So it's getting to be an expensive project to do it this way. And plus, I just know that the overall, the engine characteristic and everything is not something that I want to be living with long term. So I don't really want to dump that much money into the suspension, although I think that would be a huge difference, make a huge difference to this bike. All right, well, again, put questions down below. I hope this has been useful. If you have ideas on future bikes you'd like me to do series with, then let me know and I will consider that. Thanks for watching. Ride safe. I'll see you out there.